He was sentenced in 2018 for running a marijuana distribution network across the country. In his young 20s, Tommy Anderson just wanted to have a good time.
Hey, I can live in Rio de Janeiro for 6 months and party. Hey, I could live in Dubai and Palm Jumeirah and drive Ferraris. And
welcome back, listeners, to the Brighter Side of Blue, our worldwide podcast, coming to you almost live from Columbo's Cafe and Tavern in Dogtown, St. Louis.
Yep.
It is the home of the famous Little Thin Crust Pizza, the Seabos, and daily lunch specials.
I'm JJ. Oh.
Thank you, JJ.
He's in a hurry.
That was good shit. I'm Danny.
I'm Tommy.
I'm JJ. I'm sick of being last all the time.
I'm producer John, JJ's friend.
Hey, baby.
Welcome, producer
JJ.
John. That was good. That was good, JJ. Of course, Columbus won't pay their sponsorship check now because you cut them short, but that's all right. Hey, Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations. You're a grandpa again.
Thank you.
Tell us about
Thank
it.
you.
Tell us how it went down.
My daughter Jordan, our number 3 daughter, had her 3rd child. She's going pretty quickly here. Hudson. Baby
Hudson?
boy. We did not find out what it was until birth.
Cool.
Nice.
So we had a couple names picked out. I thought one of the names that was discussed, if it was a girl, was Sawyer.
JJ. Oh.
Oh, I like that.
But right, Jordan's getting married here shortly. She's been with the dude for the whole time.
Hey, listen, there's no judgment-free
judgment
zone. Judgment-free zone, bro.
But anyway, until they got married, the kid's name would have been Sawyer.
Yeah.
That was not, so that kind of ixnayed that. But Hudson was a cool name. Hudson Eugene. Eugene is the name of
healthy. Mom and baby doing fine.
Is the dad's last name Hudson?
Hudson. Yep. Hudson Meyer.
How many grandbabies you got now?
7.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You old?
No. My daughters are taking after me and my wife and having babies early. And
when you get Jack on board so you can have a Sawyer.
We're all right. We're all right with 7 right now. Jack's 20, so we can wait.
It'll happen.
We can wait. But
hey.
No, I'd love to just another grandkid to have more fun with. So
congratulations, bro.
Awesome.
Glad everybody's doing
Thank
fine.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That's awesome. Hey, on a serious note, so St. Louis, we had a terrible tornado come through town, messed up a lot of the central west end and North St. Louis. It used to be the old 8th district when I was on the job. Now it's the 5th district, but
and 6th.
So our hearts go out to them.
Absolutely.
Split
It is
a little bit, yeah. That's okay. I'm sorry. Keep going.
But of course, being the jerks that we are, we have to talk about the button.
Oh, I'm staying out of this conversation.
You can stay out of this conversation. I mean, because I know it's hard. You just press a button.
I find it hard.
And then sirens go off, and then people know that the tornado's coming. You just press the button.
But I find it hard that in this day and age, with all the technology we got, that it's still somebody's job to say, "Oh my God, there's a storm coming," and press a button.
A physical button.
I mean, they got all
There's
the
not an app for that. There's apps and all this kind of stuff.
And I'm telling you right now that if you were to keep this system, give the button to Steve Templeton from Channel 4.
Oh, that dude's always on.
Dude, that weather boss will be
got our
pushing the
back.
shit out of that thing.
That dude is on, and I trust him. I trust him.
Boom.
He'd push
Boom.
that button.
So to push the button, there has to be a tornado, though, right? It has to have actually a tornado that touched ground.
Hey.
It's a warning.
Right.
If the conditions are favorable for a tornado, you're supposed to have the sirens on. You don't wait till the tornado touches.
Oh, I thought there's what's between watch and warning. There's 2 different ones. Watch means it's favorable. Warning means there's one there.
Warning is when Steve
I don't know
Templeton
where
rolls
you're going
up
with
his
this.
sleeves.
I don't know what you're doing.
I thought when there's a tornado, there's one been cited. That's what a warning is. A watch, a tornado watch. We can know it's favorable for
right.
a watch.
The warning, yeah, right. So
The warning means it's coming.
Yes.
The sirens are supposed to go off when it's likely for the conditions are likely for a tornado to happen.
Okay.
They don't always happen. Obviously,
I assumed different. I thought that actually had to see a tornado.
We've all gone down in the basement 100 times and nothing happened because the conditions were right for a tornado.
Right.
Not just possible, like you said, but it's but we knew about this storm coming for 2 days before it got here.
I think it tore up some Arkansas land too before it got here.
Yeah, in Kentucky.
Like it was doing something tremendous. But like I said, I still can't believe that there's somebody just sitting there waiting to push a button.
Yeah.
You would think that would be tied to like the radar or something.
And you could do it from a remote location and press the button.
Like if I applied for that job and I put you down as a reference, would you suggest me for that job?
No way.
I said
I couldn't trust you. No way.
But
because you'd be high and hallucinating, you'd be seeing shit.
right.
And
I'd be out
Tom would
watching
push
the
a button
storm.
when he ran out of weed.
dime bag.
Right. Watch. It's a warning.
Yeah, no. I mean, that was just. But you know what? Hey, our new mayor, I'm proud of the way she handled it.
She did take that
Yeah,
right
she-
on the back.
She just,
It's
took it
has
head.
nothing to do with her either.
But she's taking responsibility.
Month in.
Yeah.
Tough 30 days.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Well, and that's actually John's musing for tonight. Musing at the microphone.
Yeah.
Sponsored by St. Louis Classic Rock.
Yeah.
I'm proud of the mayor for coming out, and she's gotten a little criticism because she got a little emotional. Hey, she's only been on the job for a month. You it's about leadership. In any organization, whether it be governmental or a private company or police department or whatever. I like the fact that she's owning this whole thing.
100%.
And I'm glad if this was going to happen. I'm glad it happened early in her
Tenure.
tenure. But what I asked from Mayor Spencer is keep this momentum going, and you're showing your leadership. Keep going because we have a lot of challenges. But I think St. Louis is really close to turning the corner and
100%.
getting things back. Getting things right again. And I think she might be the person to pull us out of this.
So is this officially
We all
your
hope.
musing? Did you just jump ahead on the schedule and do this? Is this officially it?
Yeah, and
Just cut the show by like 15 minutes.
I'm not mad at you, but I love it.
no, things come in. My musings are never like
Plan.
planned too far ahead of
But
time.
we just led you right into one.
But last night I was just thinking. I saw. I was watching some of her, footage and stuff from the press conferences. I like the way she's handling it so far. But she just keep building off this, Mayor, and we will get the city back to where
I'm going to tag team you then, John, because I the way she holds these press conferences, I trust her.
Right.
I think she's a good leader. I don't care if she got emotional. I mean, 5,000 buildings got
Well, they said
torched,
it
and
was
people
fake.
died, and
They-
people
Because
are
she cares.
homeless.
They
Yeah.
claimed that she was faking it. Not,
Oh, is that what they're saying?
Hey, I can say this.
come
I
on now.
I was lucky to meet her recently. She came to the soccer game, and I escorted her through with her crew. Super, super nice. Very humble, just a nice lady. And then the night that went down, the command post, she showed up, and she was in high heels, and she's she's dressed like a mayor, and she's pushing a big grocery cart full of water, and dragging it through. And
Yeah, I
we're
love
like,
it.
Mayor, you don't have to do this. But she was, she's trying to help out, and he was cool, and it was just real fresh into all this stuff. We weren't sure what was going on. It was kind of neat to see her out there that early on.
Yeah.
Hey, early on, I trust her. I think she's going to tell the truth. Hey, I don't want to beat an issue, a dead horse, whatever. But
Right.
hey, her immediate reaction when she was asked tough questions, you could immediately tell it was to tell the hard
whatever
truth.
she knew is the truth.
And I hate to say this, but to me, when they interviewed the SEMA director about the button, the magic button, this is my opinion, her initial instinct was going to be a little bit,
Fibber?
yeah, it was the word I'm looking for. She wasn't going to just come forthright,
Right. She's going to skirt the issue.
skirt the issue. But when you see this new mayor, and we won't beat it up any longer, I really think she's our right leader for this city and going to take us forward.
But the one thing that was in the news is that they had sent the whole SEMA thing to the workshop. And I was hoping that during the workshop, they covered the appropriate time to have a workshop.
No doubt.
So
You mean not when there's tornadoes on the ground 400 miles
Just-
away, heading
just
directly
tore
towards us?
up, just tore up some land 5 hours away.
Yeah, and heading directly towards us.
Let's go to the workshop.
Yeah, no, it's not. But she's handling it right, and that's a good thing. So
No, there's nothing you can do about all that. I mean, okay, if they would have sent the alarm off, maybe it hurt, maybe it helps, but that thing's still going to tear up what it's going to tear up.
yeah, enough said. Today, May 22nd is Vanilla Pudding Day.
I love his music.
That's Ice.
Oh, sorry.
I knew his name as Vanilla Ice is the rapper's name. Or
Yeah, he's awesome.
I can't keep up with you, producer John. But
I was trying to think of the joke and I couldn't. I was like, I know he said something funny.
I was trying to play catch up there
Right.
too. That was really
You know who caught it right away? No.
You,
JJ.
JJ was on the
JJ's
On my
on
game.
that.
JJ was
I'd
on his game.
Have to be. I'm on this tornado detail. It's got to be sharp.
No, they got
Be
to-
ready.
How many hours you been working, JJ?
Too long. 12-hour days, man. They suck. 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Wow.
It's brutal.
They tell
I've never
everybody
worked
how you discovered the hurricane.
It wasn't a hurricane.
Turkey.
It wasn't the tornado. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Here.
No, we knew it was coming. Now, my guys were working, and it was Friday, and our day off was Saturday. And so they went out and got a rest early, but we knew all day long we knew it was coming. It was a nice day. I mean, until it hit, it was nice. So we made a rest around 2:30, and then I said, you guys got to wrap this up. We got to get our car. I don't want our cars to getting beat up with hail. So they did all this, and we went to headquarters after we booked the guy. They booked the guy, and I had all the cars go inside. So I had one car out that had to go book the guy, and he calls me. I go, where are you at? Because it was getting nasty. He says, I'm in the Sallyport at North Patrol. I go, stay, He goes, I'm staying there. I go, perfect. But I was in my office at the 4th floor headquarters. It's a big, strong building. I never heard a thing. And then all of a sudden the sun came out. I thought, man, this is awesome.
Right,
We're
I'm
good to
going
go.
home. I'm out of here.
Right. And so
It's Friday.
It's our Friday. We're in, it's like 3 o'clock. We get off at 4. I said, let's wrap this up and we get the heck out of here. So I'm thinking we're leaving. Mikey Mueller calls me and says, hey, there's all kinds of 8 calls going out in the 8th district. I'm like, and 8 calls happen all the time. I go, by the time we get there, from where we're coming, it's going to be over. He goes, no. There's buildings collapsing. I go, I had no idea that the tornado came through at this point. And so we went up there. I go, we got to go up to the 8th district. Buildings have collapsed. This apparently was really a big deal. I had no idea what a big deal it was.
I mean,
you've been in the
why
8th
would
district.
you? I mean,
No,
you're
exactly.
sitting there and until the phone calls start making.
Right. The devastation was crazy. And we couldn't, and the traffic was so crazy because everything was down. So people couldn't get around. They couldn't get through Natural Bridge or any side street because there's trees and stuff.
Right.
And I'm trying to maneuver.
It was a mile wide.
It was crazy. They kept
tornado.
saying the 4600 block of Labadie and Lexington, Greer and Labadie, that there's building collapses on people who people are calling for people trapped in the building.
Yeah.
So my guys are trying to get there. It was almost impossible. It was just crazy.
There was on the news, one lady had talked about how 2 policemen pulled a roof off of her sister.
Yeah.
And then were out on the bullhorns just saying, anybody trapped, anybody
Right.
trapped.
Yeah.
And they were running up and down the street. That's just,
It was
that's
chaos.
just policemen doing what policemen do.
Yep.
Right.
And 2, I want to mention the firemen.
They were.
JJ, you had met one of JJ's friends who's a Metro West fireman.
Right.
Not even
McLaren.
from the city. And they all came in, and helped, and describe what their job was for the night, JJ.
Well, actually, the fire department's got some cool stuff. They had a big screen TV up, and it shows you where the firemen are.
With Seinfeld on? Just kidding. Go ahead.
But it had all these wiggly lines, and it shows. I go, what are all these? I don't understand. What's this? This is where our firemen are walking. So they had it sectored off. So firemen went out in like 12 different teams to go check for every falling building, and they had dogs, that sniffing around for bodies and stuff. And so the policeman, this is the time when you really are glad you're a policeman because you're not going to dig through the rubble. So my neighbor, Mark.
Once the firemen get there.
Oh, well, I saw Mark McClary. He's a Metro West. He pulls up, a fireman, captain for the Metro West. He pulls up in the van or his truck with 4 guys. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? He goes, they call us out here. And so they put his crew in the same way. So they give him these sectors and they got to go building to building to building. So this is early. It was still daylight. So at the end of the night, like at midnight, I see him. He looked really fresh in the beginning. I saw him. His hair was all sweaty. He was dirty, and I'm still in the white uniform. All my guys are clean as a whistle because we didn't have to dig through the rubble, but he did.
He looked good.
He goes,
you still look good.
Yeah.
Just a little tired.
He was wore out.
Right.
He was wore out.
I landed from Naples at 2:05. I was at 40 and Clayton at 2:41. So I know you have a problem with the zipper merge, but I want to get your opinion, JJ, on this tactic. So I'm driving on 40. You can obviously see the hurricanes coming. You can see the shit is breaking loose. and all of a sudden the traffic comes to a complete stop where I'm in the middle of the highway. I'm like, okay, I'm a sitting duck.
So you got underneath your car?
No. No. So come out that the 8 cars, when they get out ahead of us, when they got under the viaduct, they just stopped.
Ooh.
So they're protected, and all of us are just like, hey,
that's
hope you're
some-
safe. You know?
Oh, that's wrong. That's
some
wrong.
wrong
Okay, so you think that's wrong? Because
Oh
I
my
was
God,
like, are you
that's
kidding
a
me?
selfish ass move there.
That's a selfish ass move. So
You
they
keep
stayed
going.
there, and I got off at Brentwood, and a tree come down, and I made it out. But I was like, that's a selfish move.
I was
It
just
is.
going to
That's
say,
crazy.
what you do about it, and you just explain what you did about it. What you can do about it. Get off the highway.
I got off the
No,
highway.
Right.
he was one of the ones underneath the viaduct.
No, but don't you think that's
That's
a selfish
crazy.
move?
That's a bad.
So I talked to Michael. You know, he's working. So early in the day, there was a stolen car, or a carjacked car that ended up being parked at Harney and Thrush, which is right there. Right, it didn't get hit like the old 8th district did, but it was sitting right there. So they went up before the storm, and they sat on it for a while, hoping the guy would get back in the car who did the carjacking. So they finally, the weather's coming. We got to get this car, just tow
Recover
it and recover it and do the and have it processed and everything. So they got caught in the storm. He said it was they're in those little Impalas. He said it started storming. Wind was going so crazy. He goes, it was one of the scariest things they've ever been. And then it started hailing real bad. He's got a picture, and I'll send it to you. It's in the palm of his hand. He's got hands like me. It looked like a baseball in his hand. Then we didn't know what to do. We were like freaking. He goes, the only thing good, it came in fast and furious, and it left fast and furious.
Yeah,
it was quick, brother.
I mean, I was out there in South County in Oakville. I mean, it didn't do the damage it did in St. Louis by no
Just wind.
stretch. But looking out the window, now I'll enjoy the shit out of a storm, in the back. But I looked out there,
Especially high.
Yeah,
This is badass.
I'd like to sit down on my sun porch and enjoy a storm.
Yeah.
But that got downright scary.
That's
It
unbelievable.
was crazy.
Well, it's going to be a long time to recover from that. Tommy, have you been following the Karen Reed trial?
I wouldn't say that I follow it, but I followed it enough to get everybody's opinion, and I must have got caught on the algorithm of Karen Reed's innocent. And people were pointing out all the thing, and I was like, there's got to be another side of this. So I just Googled, for Karen Reed. Man, I'm telling you, this is like if you lived in Massachusetts, I think you have to pick a side because that's all they talk about.
About Karen Reed trial.
Whether it's her third trial, the testimony is all over and I'm not saying
Second trial.
that is it the second or the third?
Second.
All right, second. But anyway, anytime you have a retrial, the testimony, and then they learn how exactly everybody knows what everybody's saying. So they've got a strategy for you to make you look like a complete fool.
Yeah.
That's just the way that, and anybody that's testified in trial, it's not easy. It's very stressful. And to do it 2 and 3 times in a row when these very, very good defense attorneys get to sit there and dissect what you said and then come back at you, and so there's testimony changing. It is a wild.
I think.
So what's the deal?
I think she's innocent, and I also
Okay.
I watched a little series that was on TV with her. She was so honest, and her first testimony, I thought.
The crowd says no.
I don't care what they think.
We have
But I'm
47
saying,
thumbs down.
I thought
No.
The way she testified, she admitted that when she left that she might have. She was. I don't know if they hit her, but she was drinking. She was. Her biggest mistake was she was probably drunk and driving. She was. It was a snowstorm. She didn't know if she hit him, but they were fighting. A couple fights. They're like, screw you. All she knows, he could have punched the car. But I thought she was completely honest in her opinion, and now it's coming back to haunt her.
Everybody in the crowd's saying guilty, JJ.
I don't. This crowd sucks.
Our crowd never sucks, JJ. Look at all those Seabo's pizzas out there.
All right. I think she's innocent.
Okay.
And there's not enough proof to say
Tommy,
she
what do you
wasn't.
say?
I think it's one of those things too. Is if you ever, it got me to thinking about the human nature of heroes and villains,
Yeah.
and how everybody's almost trained from a young age to have heroes and villains, and it could be the Cardinals and the Cubs. It could be the WWE, the wrestling, the Blues and the Blackhawks. So, and then, you know, no matter where it goes in life, whether it's a soap opera or a movie or whatever, politics, you create a hero and a villain, and then you get down with it. I mean, and that sells like a mug. And, you know, a lot of people play great villains.
So I've kind of faded off on it. I know I haven't really followed the second one. So what's your support like still? Is it still strong?
Oh, tremendous.
Okay, good.
Because now it's even harder for the,
Right.
you know, because they're attacking the shit out of the original testimony.
Oh, shoot.
You know, because now they get time to think about it. It's kind of like after the show.
When is it going to wrap up, do you think?
Oh, I have no idea. I have no clue.
About 3 weeks.
How much money does this cost the government?
That's unbelievable.
God damn.
It'll be like OJ though. She'll make a bunch of money off this. She'll get
Write a book.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
right. She'll get they'll let her off. She'll make a bunch of money, and then his family will sue her.
Yeah.
and they'll get a judgment. And
We'll see how it wraps up.
Yeah.
So, Tommy, I would not recommend you for the job pushing a button. However, I would recommend you because Schicker Ford of St. Louis is still looking for a lube technician.
Oh, come on now.
I think you can cover
we're
that.
going
I think you
back
can.
there.
I think you could be a lube
my
tech.
boy P. Diddy's got that.
Yeah, no, P. Diddy's locked away for a while, but
No.
Schicker Ford's still looking for a lube technician. Schicker Ford wants to wish all of the best for the tornado victims. Yes. Their hearts and prayers are with them, and they're running a Memorial Day sale down at Schicker Ford of St. Louis. Still the employee pricing. And
And if you don't want to bicker about the price on the sticker,
head on down to Schicker.
Well, you get the best price quicker.
Oh, hell
at
no.
that.
I thought we caught him sleeping. I thought we caught him sleeping.
I was thinking about
he was
looking at his notes. I thought,
it's so
we
easy.
got
there
him.
going, here it
It's
comes.
so easy
here
to
it
tune you
comes.
two out. So
Yeah.
that makes me snicker.
This could keep going, John. Okay?
that's not bicker.
About the price on the sticker.
Because we just go down to Schicker.
Where you get a better deal
You know what? I
quicker.
best deal.
I got a testimonial for Prime Performance.
Yeah?
Yep. So we went and got our shot.
Yep.
Feeling good,
B12.
strong.
B12.
B12, the revive. I played golf in a tournament this Monday,
Yeah.
and Pat Welch is in the crowd. And he played. He's on my foursome. We play every year. He came down. He said, "Man, I was so sore after playing 18 holes.
And you weren't sore?
I was strong as a bull."
I want to go back. We got that B12. We got the B12
Yeah, you have-
shots in our butt.
Pat just
Danny
flipped-
called me the day,
Pat just
the,
flipped
day
me
that
off.
the grandkid came.
Yeah, I
Said,
want to go
let's
get
go
another.
down and get let's go get another B12 shot. And I said, dude, I got a grandkid might be coming out any time now. So we didn't go do that. But Danny, I think you might be addicted to the B12 shot.
I do want it.
Good for you.
I want to get the.
Where do you go to get it, though, JJ?
You go to Prime Performance. You can go to 44 Fenton Plaza in Fenton, Illinois, or Fenton,
Illinois.
Fenton, Missouri. You can, please cut this one out.
No,
please.
No
we
way.
cut shit
All
out.
right, you can go
Never
to,
get cut.
go to 122 Central Plaza in O'Fallon, Illinois.
Everybody knows. Everybody knows. No big
But
deal.
you threw me for when you asked.
No,
me.
I got a good joke. Did I ever tell you this joke?
Pat,
Go ahead.
he's giving me hand signals.
So
we're going, Pat.
So this guy walks into a bank, and he says, walks up to the teller and says, "I want to open up a fucking checking account." And the teller's like, "Excuse me, sir?" He goes, "I want to open up a fucking checking account." She goes, "We don't. You just can't come in here and talk like that." He goes, "Whatever. Just I want to open up a fucking checking account." And the gal goes, "I'm getting my manager." So she goes and gets the manager, and the manager comes over, and the manager says, "Sir, can I help you?" He goes, "Yeah, I'd like to open a fucking checking account with $500,000. He says, "And this fucking bitch won't help you?"
That's awesome. He's a good manager.
You know,
How's your pickleball game?
pickleball game is good. It's going really good. I took down an 88-year-old the other day.
That's good.
Like a champ.
No, but seriously, she only had
Right.
one. She only had one knee brace on.
Right.
So usually there's two.
Did you argue any calls? Did she?
I don't argue calls.
You're not a
I don't
call arguer.
I'm not a call. If you want to call my ball out, I'm not going to argue about it. I'm not going to argue about it.
Anytime you can hear the statement, "If you want to call my ball out,"
On this
You just gotta
day,
laugh at
on
it.
this day in
He only has-
1804,
he only has
Joe
one.
Frank's in the crowd. On this day in 1804,
What
Lewis and
happened?
Clark left St. Charles, Missouri on their expedition.
out of here.
Campbell Security.
Yep. You go
All right.
The best.
CampbellSecurityGroup.com. All your security needs. Just get a hold of Corby. He'll take care of you, won't he?
He will.
All right.
It's time for JJ Zen.
Come on, JJ.
No music?
Shit.
You cannot wait till life isn't hard anymore to be happy.
Say it again.
You cannot wait for life to not be hard anymore to be happy.
Yep.
That's a good point.
Shit, you got to be happy when it's hard,
Yeah,
baby.
exactly.
Are
Head to Fairway Automotive for
Yep,
all your
get your
car
vehicle
repair
fixed.
needs. And if you have a collectible car, not the small one, like a
Real one?
historical vehicle,
right?
they fix those too.
Don't take them your Hot Wheels.
Don't take him your Hot Wheels. My little Hot Wheel Corvette with little doors. It won't open.
He's got a scratch up on this motherfucker.
Fairway Automotive. Go see Jason and the guys out there at Fairway Automotive. Tell me, what do we have coming up?
I don't know what we got coming up, but remember I did the nickname thing last week?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I found some more nicknames that are just off the chain.
Oh, jeez. Here we
the
go.
First one, we used to... We called a guy that we worked with Glove Box because he was full of shit and never shut up.
Like a glove box in the
Right?
car.
Because full of shit and would
He can
never
take
shut
that
up.
glove box to Fairway Automotive. They'll fix it.
Foreskin because he disappears when things get hard.
Hey, wow, that's Hall of Fame. Right
That's a
there.
good one.
MasterCard because he takes credit for everybody else's work. Willie call the guy Willie. Will he show up? Will he leave early? Hey, Danny, you have just graduated from Bigfoot to Willie.
Willie.
Will he show up and will he leave early?
I have one for,
Yep.
for actually a friend, and he won't even care. I said John Unger. It was really, we know the Ungers, all of us do.
Yep.
He was he worked in the trades, and they would do a roll call where they would call who was there, like you hear. They'd say John Unger, and he wouldn't answer because he wasn't there, and they'd put slash. So he was. So every time
His nick was Slash.
his nick, yeah, 'cause he'd never show up. So John Unger, slash.
And then there's another one here that says C-section because he's afraid of labor.
Well, those are pretty creative.
Those are really
These are good. The motion detector only works when somebody walks by.
That's a good one.
This is good.
Yeah, that's very
Are we
good.
almost done? I got it.
We are done. I had to
we
pee.
are about rolling. So the interview coming up with John Davis.
You're going to
We
love
didn't
it.
even talk about that early. We should have.
We should have talked
basically
about it early.
that earlier. Great story with Tommy Anderson and
Weed dealer.
Weed dealer. I mean,
Did we have a cigar while we were doing that?
Actually, you should before you listen to the interview with John Davis and Tommy Anderson and pilots and or marijuana. Just he was like a marijuana.
Pilot.
He had pilots working for him, but he was living life large. And but
Young as hell.
Get yourself a big old cigar and
yeah, 8984 Watson Road. You go down and see Dan at Riverman Cigar Company, just like we did not too long ago.
it was fun. Saw
That
it
was
on
fun.
Facebook.
I like the picture.
Yeah, I
Those are
like
cool.
it. Yeah, good
I
job.
wish you guys would have invited me.
You
Right,
were
we
invited.
did, but you didn't show up.
No show, John.
Right. There'll be a couple more pictures with
He's
you
got,
not
he's
in
got
them
other
either.
responsibilities like me.
Right.
Tommy, what about our neighborhoods?
You'll hear that at the end of the.
You won't say it
Johnson
again.
interview.
He repeats his Zens. You won't repeat it.
Communities that support law enforcement are safer places to live.
You can never say that too many times.
That's very true.
Welcome back. As promised, we have our special guest and sponsor of the Federal Friday Show, J.D. Davis, John Davis. Welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
Last time you were here, we were talking about the Todd Beckman Tanco debacle.
I remember that.
Well, you should. You prosecuted it.
Right. And tonight we're going to talk about Tommy Anderson,
I remember that
another
one
white
better.
boy.
Yeah.
I think John was the specific prosecutor for all white people.
How's it?
Cracker cooker.
But no, Tommy Anderson was quite the character and lived a tremendous lifestyle.
He did for a minute.
For
How long?
well,
That investigation probably went 7 years. The trial probably went, once we got indicted, another 2. So
9 years of selling dope and living high.
he had a good stretch.
good run.
That's a
Great
pretty
run.
good
He had
run.
pilots and started
kinda-
out.
I'm not
kinda-
hating his decision.
No, he was selling weed, right?
It was all weed.
Shoot, I feel bad for him.
And now,
I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you a little when we get into it. What happens with that black market weed and where the money goes? It's not made me change my mind. But anyway, we'll get into that later.
No, you
Thought it all went to him.
But John, give us a little bit about just a little background on Tommy Anderson. We'll get into. There was, I think, you indicted 11 people, didn't you? Something like that. 11, 12, 13, something like that.
On the Anderson indictment, I think there was 13, but the Bureau was on it, DEA was on it. I don't know why, but Secret Service was on it, because we had a Secret Service agent testify at the trial. And FBI, when they get involved, they got to do a spreadsheet with all the mug shots and the arrows and all
Right,
that.
yeah.
That's when you know it's serious. And I remember taking it into the conference room, and it was too big. And I literally folded it in half and then tore it down the middle. And I said, we'll indict the Anderson side, and then we're going to indict the Kinstra side. Kyle Kinstra was his name. And they used to be partners. And
Weed partners?
Yeah.
Selling weed?
Hey, can you describe what these kids were like before this all started?
What do you think? He grew up with them?
No, I mean they're middle class kids, right?
What the fuck?
No, they were
privileged
South.
kids.
They were South County white guys, like you
Okay.
guys started out with. Yeah, I just run of the mill high school guys that almost all went to Mizzou. Just regular salt of the earth guys. And Tommy's parents were the same way. Lived down in South County.
Where I live.
A nice house, nothing opulent, but yeah, respectable folks.
And they just started selling small amounts of weed.
That was a good question, wasn't it?
I forgive you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Good question, JJ.
Thank you.
great.
Thanks,
Yeah.
John. He's reinforced.
Tommy started selling weed, and
Small amounts?
Yeah, and everyone graduated high school, and most went to Mizzou. So Tom went to Columbia, but he didn't go to Mizzou because that's where his customers were.
Target-rich environment.
That's
Like,
really
yeah, it is.
That's really how. It
And
all
we're talking
started.
that, there was weed was legal at some places back then, but not here in Missouri, and it wasn't even close.
Not here in Missouri, and of course, it's still not federally. And this was a federal matter. I mean, it
Right.
rose up to. Well, in the end, the trial was over literally a ton of marijuana.
Wow.
2,000, and that's probably on the low end, I'm guessing. That's on the very low
that's
end.
what we put in the jury instructions, is my memory. It was a ton.
Wow.
2,000 pounds.
You know, the good thing about this story is
JJ.
I asked Michael about it yesterday. He went to Mizzou at the exact same time. And I asked if he knew the kid. He goes, no. I thought that's a good answer.
But when he started getting his marijuana through the Postal Service, correct?
Yeah. So the deal with, I mean, if you look at it from 30,000 feet, the Mexican ditchweed was done, and the Mexican cartels couldn't deal the marijuana anymore because the poor grade of marijuana compared to Northern California. And we called it, well, they still call it the Emerald Triangle, way up in Northern California. Way north of San Francisco. And the quality of the marijuana there was so good that if you could get it from there to St. Louis or other places east, the price was astronomically higher. And Tommy figured that out pretty quickly, and that's where he was sourcing his marijuana and making huge profits at Mizzou.
And again, so he started out with a couple pounds through the mail,
Right,
a couple pounds
right.
here. But then who does he hook up with that kind of takes it to another level? Does he hook up with Natali first, or does he hook up with the Kyle first?
Well, I mean, the distribution level was with Kyle because they were both St. Louisans. But
Dude, Mikey.
Mikey comes in and crashes the party every time, doesn't he?
We're talking about weed dealing, Mikey. JD's talking about
He
dope
doesn't
dealing.
know anything about it. But the source of supply, the ultimate source of supply, was a guy named Joe Natali, who lived in.
Was it? Hold on, I talked to B. Moles yesterday.
Hey, John,
what's the lake up in Northern California?
Tahoe?
No, I saw.
It was Redding, California.
Redding. He lived up in Redding, and he
It's called research, JJ.
It's good.
he had he had access to property there that ultimately Tommy went in with him to buy acreage to grow the marijuana.
Now, how did he stumble across this guy? Just by luck, or did?
I don't know how they met. I don't remember, to tell you the God's honest truth. I can tell you this: Tommy's MO is to go somewhere, pal around with these people. And Tommy, I know enough about his personality from being around him that he could work this crowd in a heartbeat. And he just had that personality. If he had a master's degree in business, he'd be the CEO of something that would be $1 billion.
Wow.
Well, I saw some of his interviews on the local news when he got released,
Right.
and we'll get to that. But
let's.
but you can tell that he's a gregarious guy that could easily woo a crowd especially when you got money.
Yeah.
So he would have had two things going for him.
And he had money at some point. And and he was a workout fanatic. He was buff. He was good looking. He was charismatic, and it worked for him for a minute.
And then it graduated. He's making so much money now. He's changing his operations of transportation. He's starting to move this in different kind of carriers and such things as water heaters and race cars. And tell us a little bit about all that.
So the idea was, when it took off, because of the grade of the marijuana, he had to get a bigger quantity at a cheaper price and get it to St. Louis, and ultimately it went further east to Boston. And they had to come up with schemes to do it. And I remember during the trial, one of the schemes was water heaters. So the California crew would go to Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever and buy 10 water heaters. They had a guy in Natalie's garage. Natalie had a father who worked he owned an auto body shop. And there was a welder there that could take the lids off of the hot water heaters, gut them, fill them with weed, and then weld it back on, and then hire some moving company to say, hey, we're contractors and we need to get these water heaters from California to St. Louis.
So they were completely oblivious, the moving company.
Oh, yeah, they had no idea.
Okay.
They're thinking this is some heavy ass.
Mayflower's moving all the weed.
For no profit whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then when they get to St. Louis, one of their problems was they had someone here who could take the lids off and take the weed out. Oh, my God. They took the water heaters and threw them in a truck and then went to a ditch and just dumped them in the ditch.
After they unloaded them?
Yeah, and eventually they found the water heaters by a storage unit in a ditch, and that was one of the downfalls of the organization.
Wow.
So the investigators found the water heaters?
I can't remember who found the water heaters, but someone reported, like, why are there 25 water heaters?
They're
in
all
the
brand
ditch?
new. They're all great. They still look new.
They smell like weed.
They graduated eventually from the water heaters. I remember some of his crew from St. Louis would go out there, including his girlfriend, who is intricate in this scheme. Her name was Noelle Trudeau. And
Nice name.
Yeah, it is.
yeah,
Like
They got some
movie
good
star.
names. Wait till you hear some of these other names. They're good ones.
so they would go antiquing and buy furniture, and then they'd fill the furniture voids full of weed, and again ship it on trucks, and the truckers had no idea. And it was a moving company. It wasn't a contractor's company, something like that. But eventually, the quantity caught up with him, and he moved into aviation.
Yes, and how did talk about some of the? So you had the local guy. So we'll start with him, and his name was David Allen Dodge. Was one of the pilots?
Correct.
And then there was Travis.
Champ.
Travis Champ. He was the California pilot.
He was California.
And then you mentioned earlier was this Kyle guy, and Kyle was, and you split the two cases apart. But how does Kyle? Why did you split him apart?
Well, because there were 33. When I looked at the
Defendants.
sheet that the FBI presented to me, there were 33 defendants. And, we were in the organized crime unit, and there was only 12 of us. Maybe back then there were only 10. one person couldn't do 33.
Yeah.
So I literally split it down the middle and gave this half to a young U.S. attorney then named Steve Casey. And I said, Steve, you handle this half, I'll handle this half, and I wanted this half because it had Tommy. Well, as it turns out, Kyle was on that half, and he was the equivalent to Tommy after their organization broke up. And I don't know so much about that half. You'd have to have Steve on board to talk about that, but he's still a U.S. attorney, so I don't know that he could. But so I helped Steve on that half. He helped me on this half. Ultimately, that half that Steve had all pled guilty. Tommy wanted to go to trial. Everyone pled on Tommy's case except for Tommy. And Steve was my second chair at the trial.
So when you said he's the only one that goes to trial, but let's just talk about a little bit about the investigation and some of these flights that come in. So we're talking, this was in 2013.
Correct.
So in this particular incident I'm talking about, the whole investigation, like John said, it was from 2008 to 2014, something like that.
I don't want to cut you off, but I remember where I was literally sitting when I was an assistant U.S. attorney. Across the hall from me was an AUSA named Noelle Collins, who is now a U.S. magistrate judge. And she had the case originally and the investigation. Someone had it before her, and I don't remember who it was, but you know what slides downhill, right? Well, it landed on her desk, and then she gets appointed magistrate, and then going downhill further, it lands on my desk. But I remember Brandon Moles, God bless him, because he was the genius behind this investigation. It just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger every day, every week, every month. And I remember listening to Noelle, like on the phone, saying, "You got to be shitting me," you know? And it was just getting too big until it was enormous, and then here it is. I inherited.
But earlier you said there was a ton of dope. That's just what you guys.
Literally.
That's what you guys charged them with.
Correct.
There's probably 4 tons of dope over the 10 years.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, because you charged them. What's the amount of marijuana where you're charged federally when you're charged with the selling of it?
Well,
was it 2,000 or was it
Yeah,
500?
it
I
is.
think.
Let's assume there's no guns or anything like that involved
Right.
that does the enhancements. 2,200 pounds, which is 1,000 kilos, is a 10-year mandatory minimum. So we're looking for that. Half of that is a 5-year mandatory minimum. We're looking at. I wouldn't charge anything less than that.
Right.
What
In an
federal-
organized crime unit. Now, if you got caught with a pound of weed, but you had a gun and you're a convicted felon, the violent crime unit would take care of that.
What federal agency brought this to you? Because I know you don't do you didn't do the investigation. Who was it? St. Louis locals or?
No, it was DEA. That by the time I got involved with it, DEA. Where it really started was a guy named. His last name was Lee. We called him General Lee. And he was a pilot out of Colorado. Completely different case. He gets stopped in Arkansas. His plane got stopped in Arkansas.
He was a pilot too.
He was a pilot
The
too.
general.
I have a feing he's the one that was the.
This is how the whole thing started.
Yeah.
And you see what had happened was he got stopped in Arkansas in his plane. I can't remember if it was full of money or full of weed. I don't remember. But they said, hey, if you want to cooperate, let us know what's going on. We'll do what we can do to help you. And they helped him to the point that he didn't get charged.
Wow.
And he felt this is God's honest truth, and he was on stand testify to this. He felt so blessed after that. He went back to them and said, listen, you guys did all right by me. I got to tell you something you don't know. And he had been flying for Tommy.
So this was an additional slip snitch. You guys were so
Bonus
good. I'm going to
snitching.
slip you another one.
I like that. Well, Tommy had this thing about him. Everybody he dealt with, he would then burn the bridge. If you fronted me $10,000 in drugs and I sold it, I'd come to you and say, oh, I only have 8. And Tommy was notorious for that.
Oh, he was always fucking up his money.
Always. It was his downfall. It
Yes.
truly was.
No,
that
the
in the
people-
end, when 33 people are indicted and 32 say I'll testify against you, it's because it's for a reason.
Right.
Including his bodyguard, who wasn't indicted, who still to this day is a friend of mine. He is. I talked to him the other day on the phone. But the general was the first one. And he said, I got to tell you someone that you guys probably don't know about. And that's how St. Louis got hooked on to Tommy.
Wow.
That's some good stuff right
Yeah,
there. But
yeah.
then now we're going to go to as part of some of the interesting stuff that happened during the investigation.
Some of it.
And these guys are flying all over the place, and they're living high off the hog here. They're going to Vegas, and Tommy Anderson gets a residence in Boston. So he's back and forth from Boston. So we're going back to 2013 now. And the World Series has Boston and St. Louis Cardinals in it.
Yeah.
So Travis Champ, who's the pilot from California, they had what is called an AMAC on his tail number. So they tracked this, but these guys didn't, they didn't file flight plans or any of that. They just got in the plane and took off.
That was something I learned through this. I learned a lot about aviation through this, and hopefully I can share some of it if it doesn't scare the shit out of you. Yeah. But you didn't have to file a flight plan. Because when I first met Travis, I said, where's the flight plan? He's like, we didn't file a flight plan. You go wherever the hell you want to go. I didn't know that.
Okay.
They flew below the radar like I did on my career.
Right. Exactly. They were the Bigfoot of the skies. You heard they existed, but you never saw them.
Kind of blurry when you did.
Right. But so they fly, or they catch the. At the very end, they get the AMAC hit. They get so Brandon Moles, he gets the call saying, "Hey, your plane's headed towards Boston." Well, that night the Cardinals are in Boston playing
the World Series
against Boston, and no kidding.
Guess what all the cops are doing?
Yes. So Brandon's trying to call the DEA people in Boston and trying to get his guys up, and everybody's telling him, dude. It's like 6 o'clock at night. They're like, it ain't working. Ain't no way. So the plane ends up landing and they don't get it, but they end up putting it in a hangar. So when they put it in the hangar, the guy, Champ, just leaves it there. So now they got it under surveillance. Well, 2 weeks passes by. There's nobody coming to get this thing. And
it was full of weed?
Yeah. Well, no, they took the weed. It was full of weed.
Right.
The weed is gone because they didn't get up on it in time.
The weed is gone, baby.
So they just put it under surveillance, and now they're 2 weeks later, 10 days, maybe, John. It was a good lapse of time.
I don't know. The Cardinals got swept. That's all.
Yeah. That was a horrible.
There was a good stretch of time before he comes back, and when he comes back, he's got a bag over his shoulder. They go get him, and he's got $950K in the bag.
Well, they're sitting on the plane, and I want to say there were 4 guys walking towards the plane. And the deal was this. Champ would fly in from California with the marijuana, usually stop in Colorado for fuel, stop in St. Louis to distribute some of it, and then Boston to distribute the rest of
What
it.
a system.
And
It is.
Tommy was a hockey player, and that he met up with hockey players in Boston, and that's how that began, is my memory.
Like NHL hockey players?
No.
Okay.
Just,
That's good.
yeah. And Travis Champ, the pilot, worked at an airport teaching aviation in Redding, California. So he would fly out on a Friday, land, get the stuff distributed, the money would come, he put it in the plane and fly it back. Well, they couldn't get it in time. So it sat for a while. And then Travis came back to fly the plane back, and they're walking towards the airplane, and DEA has surveillance on them. And they're pulling a carry-on luggage on wheels. And I remember the agent said, "Whose bag is that?" And they said, "Nobody's." And of course, you all know abandonment, right? You don't need the Fourth Amendment to search something that's abandoned, and it had almost $1 million in it.
Yep. And Brandon, he said that during the interim, that Champ had flown to like Atlanta somewhere on a commercial flight because they tracked him, or they just got his ticket. And they asked him, "What were you doing in Atlanta? What did you go there for?" He goes, "I got a job with United Airlines
Yeah.
as a pilot."
Oh.
As a delivery portion of it.
Right.
Not he wasn't going to,
Passenger
planes, but he was going to be in their delivery department.
Nice.
And so I thought that one was good. The other one I found good, John, is the pilot from here his name was David Allen Dodge. And one of the other guys from here, his name was Brian Lord. And so they somehow get in a plane in Nebraska that they got tracked. And tell us about that story.
I want to say there was a storm or something that got him. But you got to remember, they're flying a plane the size of this table.
Right.
Full of weed.
Full of weed.
They took the seats out, literally, so they could pack it.
That was a money run.
It was a money run.
That
It's
was a
going
money
back
run.
at that point. Well, there's a thing called the Rocky Mountains right there.
Yeah.
And getting a plane the size of this table over the Rocky Mountains apparently is
Under the radar. I mean, it's not easy.
And Brian is riding shotgun. Dodge is flying the damn thing, and the wind and it was all explained to me. The uplifts from the mountains, and then you go into the valley, and then it sucks you back down. And they're brushing treetops, and it scared the living shit out of Brian Lord.
I think that.
And they make it to
scared the shit out of everybody.
California, and he says, "I'm not flying back with you." And Tommy wanted someone, obviously, keeping an eye on the product and the money coming and going. And Brian said, "I'm not going back."
He took commercial back.
Yeah, he did.
He said,
I would've too.
I'm out of this thing.
Oh, my. Yeah, I'm out on that.
And then, so when do you guys decide? Because now in an investigation like this, there's a group of decision makers, and John, as the U.S. attorney, is going to be part of that decision making of how we're taking this thing down. Who are we going to take off first? So how do you guys decide to go about that as far as trying to end it? Because like you said, Noel was sitting there going, you guys got to be kidding me. If you keep this going, we're never going to stop.
That's exactly right.
So
It's
how do you
just
stop it, and what
kept
do you guys
getting
decide to
bigger.
do?
I remember going to the grand jury the first time. And normally a grand jury situation in St. Louis, and you guys have probably been there. I mean, I might book maybe 20 minutes and be able to indict a conspiracy with y'all's help, of course. This one, I think I did over 4 different sessions.
Oh, wow.
And we went hours. And I damn near tried the case in front of the grand jury because I wanted to make sure it was rock solid. But what it is that said, all right, this is where we're stopping the investigation and we're starting the prosecution, I honestly don't remember. But I remember the
You're just
grand
like, I'm
jury
done with
proceeding.
this. If we keep this going, we're going to have 97 people in this thing.
That's exactly right.
No, and I can see that. And then one of the other things, and I alluded to it earlier, and people will say, what's the big deal? It was just a bunch of weed. Well, what happens, and I'm not sure it happened in this case. I don't know that much about this case, but there's cases being investigated now, and I've talked to the investigators, and how this stuff is going is that these black market companies like out of California and where you get all that stuff, and it's all black market, and it's coming from Mexico and other places, and they can ship it in large loads. Well, sometimes the money has to go back there. And then what happens with the money? Everybody thinks, well, they just drive it across the border. Well, that's what they really don't want to lose. So what they'll do is hire Chinese, gangsters who have the ability to launder that money. So they'll charge them points. Let's just say that you give them 100,000, they'll charge you 10,000, and they'll funnel this back to China, and then China will pay through whatever methods pay the cartels. So that's how that money gets across the border without never having to cross the border.
Right, got you.
So and that actually got me. When I started back into my action, I went to the local guy. And then when I heard this from the investigators, I was like, I'm not going to do that anymore. I might as well I'm just going to pay the extra $5, $10 or whatever it is for a certain. Just like you used to work and just pay the extra money, just knowing that that's what happens. And
Right.
That's why, and everybody will say, oh, it's just weed. It was just weed. There's a lot of shit that comes down from that,
Yeah.
That was kind of my argument at sentencing for Tommy. It was in front of Judge Fleissig, who I respect immensely. And I said, Your Honor, there's going to be the argument, hey, it's just weed. And back then, it still wasn't legal in the States, but it was on its way to being legal. But there was so much collateral damage that was done, not just with Tommy, but everyone in this conspiracy, that it amounted to a lot more than just weed.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you indict Natalie from California, do they have to go out and get them? I mean, was there any of these guys that you indicted? And I love some of the names. The one name was Montana Salvador Doty Russo. Is he a gangster?
No.
You got a Montana Russo?
He was I'm not going to say co-pilot, but he was a guy that flew in the plane to keep an eye on stuff. Nice enough guy.
Local?
No, he was Northern California.
Who was local on this? So do you have David
Lord
Allen?
was local. Dodge was local.
Anderson.
Anderson was local.
Boy, they built a
Brian Brandt, was he local? Then you had Russell Riddle Huber.
Riddle
Yes.
Huber was Northern California.
John, let me say this. Northern California is notorious for coppers don't even like to go on some of these properties and these lands because it's so dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, there people disappear.
Yeah.
And so anybody from that organization go to jail? From North? Did they ever get
Natali.
touched? They did. He was from Northern California.
Natali got, you know what, whether Natali went to jail, I don't think he did. Natali cooperated, testified. Greatest part of his testimony was at harvest season. Again, Tommy screwed him over. Was supposed to help pay for the land, never paid for the land. They did. Natali had to run the whole harvesting operation. And when it was time to harvest, they had to cut it down with chainsaws.
Oh.
Wow.
So he wasn't running a real efficient operation. That's the change when you introduce chainsaws to the weed operation.
yeah.
The weed was so prolific, they needed chainsaws to cut it down.
Jeez Louise. The
That-
trees.
That's amazing. Now, were there any other? There was some other. Was there any other harrowing pilot stories? Because that's what Brandon. When I was talking to B. Moles, he was like, "These pilots." I don't know how
I
they
tell you,
did
it was so harrowing. I almost didn't put it to the jury because it was literally incredible.
The flight they were taking.
Travis Champ flew from Redding, California, loaded with weed. Seats are. By this time, Tommy has bought a plane, $400,000. He owns his own plane now. Ripped the seats out of it, loaded it with weed. Don't know what the weight balance on it was, but Travis was not happy with it. But flew it to Boston.
From Redding, California.
Well, he
Yeah,
stopped in
somewhere.
Colorado for gas,
St. Louis.
but it was going to Boston. So he lands in Boston, and here's what he told me, and here's what it still scares me to this day. He would get on Google Earth and find an airport like Spirit in St. Charles or in St. Louis or just a small, we're not talking Lambert. And Google Earth would show if there was a fence around it or not. And if there wasn't a fence, that's the one he would land at. And so he'd come in at like 4 a.m. and nobody was working. And he said you knew the radio frequency and you clicked your microphone or something and the lights would light up. And that's how you land.
Wow.
Oh.
And if there's no fence, then the car pulls out knowing you're coming, unload the weed, and then put the plane in park and take off and then Travis would get a hotel room until the weed was distributed and the money was collected, bring it back, and he'd be back in California by Sunday with a plane full of money. Well, this particular trip, Sunday comes and they couldn't get the weed distributed, and he needed to get home because he worked. Ironically, teaching aviation. And and the kid, if you looked at the kid, he looked 16 years old. When I first met him, I was like, "You're not Travis Champ." He said, "Yeah, I am." I didn't think he had a driver's license, let alone a pilot's license, but he had a serious problem because the Hurricane Sandy was coming in. And he got a phone call from the hangar that said, we either have to strap this plane down to the tarmac or move it into a hangar because this hurricane's coming, or you need to get the hell out of here. And he needed to be back home. He said, I'm getting the hell out of here. So he flew home deadhead with no money. And that was a no-no for Tommy Anderson.
Oh, yeah.
But he had to get home. And I think it was Riddlehuber, was that his name?
Yep.
Was the guy keeping the eye on stuff. And they flew to Colorado and gassed up. Riddlehuber, not your aviation engineer, got out to gas it up in Colorado, gassed it up, took off, headed back for Redding, and they get over the Rockies, and they get to, what's the ski resort in Utah? Heavenly.
Okay.
And Travis is on stand testifying to this. And, of course, I knew it was coming. I've heard it 50 times, but he said the plane started stalling out. And he looked, and the gas was on E. And it shouldn't have been on E. They just gassed up in Colorado. And they had to crash land on a highway at like 3:30 in the morning in Utah. And they put the plane down completely out of gas. They get out. Dumbass forgot to put the lid back on the gas tank.
Was just flying out.
Yeah.
Was there any weed or money in the car? Or was
No,
it
he was
deadhead?
deadheading it back.
I'm
because
guessing he
he was
was
beating
high.
the hurricane.
Yeah.
They were lucky.
But
there.
when they're landing, the street lights on the highway is going like this on the wings. And he's just clipping the street lights. And it's destroying the shit out of the wings. And again, this is what he tells me, and the jury ended up believing it. They pushed the plane onto a side road, and there was a gas station. They ran to the gas station, bought as many gas tanks as they could, filled them up with gas, put it in this plane, put the lid on this time, just to try and get it just a little bit further to Redding. And the damn thing took off. The co-pilot is filming it because there's traffic, and I saw the film. There's traffic coming at him while they're going. And Travis is on the tape saying, "Turn the goddamn camera off."
Jeez, Louise.
God, I didn't know that you could just pull up and take unleaded.
Well, it's not a jet.
It's funny.
a prop
It's
play,
funny
so-
because after Travis testified to that, I put the general on, and on cross-examination,
Here come
they
the
asked the general, "Can you put regular gasoline?" And he said no.
Oh, you can't?
I was like, "Shit."
In a
Not
prop
supposed to.
plane?
So after the general testified, I went upstairs and talked to him, and I said, "Here's what you can't tell everybody what the testimony is." And I told him afterwards, and he said, "Oh, to just take off and make it that far? Yeah, you could do that."
Okay.
I was like, "Shit." I didn't know he was going to get cross-examined on that. They all lost their pilot's license if it means
Really?
anything.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? They
The
sound like
defense
gangsters,
counsel
man.
alerted
Did the
the
general go
FAA.
on to sell insurance?
Yeah, I don't think so. That's not him. No, much bigger guy. Much bigger guy.
Just got that. Didn't
I
you?
did just get that.
What's that insurance company? I was trying to.
The general.
What's the insurance company that the general sells
That
for?
is the general, isn't it?
It's a general insurance.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, he's much
So
bigger.
now take it back about me just getting it. You didn't even know your own jokes.
I was about to Google it and
Take
go,
your
what
shit
insurance
back.
company
Where's your
am I
shot?
talking about?
It's the general.
Here's my shot. Look at that. Well, no, that's the. And then how many years? I know everybody else pled and probably didn't get a whole lot of time. When you plead to something like that. But Tommy decides he wants to take this silliness to trial. Takes all this to trial. I believe it was a 7-day trial. Mm-hmm. Like you said, everybody's willing to testify against him. How many years does he get?
In the end, 15.
15 years. Mm-hmm. And then,
Federal time, so he
Federal time.
So he
Went
got-
to Marion.
So then he gets sentenced, and he was released when?
So COVID hits. And there's all kinds of relief for federal
Everybody's
prisoners.
Everybody's asking to get out.
Yeah. So he got let out under COVID relief and went to house arrest.
Okay.
But he's under house arrest in South County. And I left my position as assistant U.S. attorney, and I still talk to all the AUSAs that I worked with, and I get an email one day that Biden's right when he was leaving office.
yeah.
And how many did he pardon?
1,100?
Yeah. Well, Tommy was right at the top of the list.
He got pardoned?
Yeah.
So what's he doing now? Is he working or
Hell,
Can we
I
get him on the show?
does he have a
Yeah.
does he have
I'm
a
sure
shovel
he would do it
digging
in a
up the-
heartbeat.
Does he have a-
We're getting him on.
I think the first thing he did was buy a new
Give me my
shovel and
card.
dug
Flying
up
with
all the
Tommy.
money.
I'll tell you what, I guarantee you he'll have better stories than we told
Yeah,
tonight.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
About
yeah.
dealing weed.
I'm getting Tommy on this show.
I like it.
I wonder if
pulling
he-
that off.
I
That's
just wonder
an incredible
if he was
story.
smart enough to bury money.
JD?
I hope so,
If he's
but I
driving
doubt
like
it.
a brand
This
new
guy
Beamer
was
or
spending
something.
money. His Nordstrom account, we had subpoenas out
I
everywhere.
saw that.
His Nordstrom account was well over $1,000 a month, just going in buying shoes, belts, things for his girlfriend. He was in Vegas.
Tommy didn't wear the same underwear twice.
There was a point he rented the top floor of the Wynn, maybe, in
Wow.
Vegas, and had a party. There was a story at the trial where he had rented Taylor Swift's tour bus in New York. That was for New Year's Eve. And parked it on Madison Avenue. Like, where do you find a parking spot on Madison Avenue?
It says
for a
Taylor
goddamn
Swift
bus?
anywhere you want.
I hope he saved some money.
When we were investigating, he was living in Dubai. I mean, it was
Oh,
insane.
wow.
Actually, didn't he go there after you guys indicted him,
Yeah,
right?
he did. Yeah.
And you guys thought he might not come back.
Yeah. Yep.
I forgot. Dave,
He was in
Most told me
Dubai.
that.
So how old is he now then?
35-ish.
35, 40? Yeah.
40 probably, yeah.
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 We're getting him on. Tommy, if you're listening, and you will be listening, come on the
Tommy
show.
Anderson, yeah, come on.
on.
Let's hear some stories.
So you didn't get him in custody till after you left Dubai?
When we issued the indictment after the grand jury, Rosenblum was representing him. And I remember Scott calling me at one point and saying, "Hey, Tommy's in town if you want to talk to him." And I remember texting back, I said, "I know goddamn well where Tommy is, believe me." And I think when the indictment came out, he was in Dubai. Tommy claims he was pursuing some legitimate business, doing something with garbage disposal or something. I don't remember what it was. But
Waste management.
I mean, who lives in Dubai, He was in Beverly Hills at one point. They had a house. I can't remember what the mortgage on that house was, but it was just insane money. Insane.
There's I always said when we were young, even when we were younger policemen, the most money that you would find in search warrants and all that was weed dealers.
Weed money?
Is that right?
It was, yeah, always. They, unlike Tommy, a lot of those guys were really good with their money. I mean, really good with their money. Had everything, if they told you it was $5,000, it would be, $100 one way or the other.
Yeah.
I remember Agent Moles when they did a search warrant at his mom and dad's house in South County, which is basically his area of operation when he was in town. They had not a hot tub, but a jacuzzi bathtub. And Brandon took the cover off where the motor is, and there was, I want to say, 2 Nike shoe boxes just full of cash.
So his parents were complicit. They knew what he was doing at this point.
I didn't indict him, but in my opinion, yes.
It'd be hard not to know something.
Right.
Yeah, that your son doesn't have
If
a
I could
job.
only tell you grand jury
Right.
stuff, but I can't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, your son doesn't have a job, but he's flying all over the place.
Buying hot tubs.
Yeah, I wonder what he's doing.
Nice clothes.
Right.
Taking my plane
He
to
must be
Boston.
really
I'll be back.
18-wheeler full of clothing.
It's
showing
funny
up at
because
the house
the
of Nordstrom.
courtroom testimony was when we landed in Reading and the damage to the wings had been done from the crash landing, they told him, Travis and his partner told Tommy that the gas line iced up, and that was the problem.
Okay.
So Tommy didn't learn about the gas lid being off until we went to trial.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I remember looking at his face just to see if he would go, son of a bitch.
In every trial, at all trials, there's that one moment
Gotcha moment.
where everybody's like, God, and you don't know whether it's going to be the defense or the prosecutor.
Yeah.
There's that one moment where the whole table goes, God damn,
Wish I'd known that one.
damn it.
He flipped his lid.
I got you.
Well, JD,
That was
it's
awesome.
always great having you on. We appreciate your sponsorship for the Federal Fridays. We look forward to doing more with you. We're going to do, JD and I talked about doing some a series on some of the famous defense attorneys.
Or
over the years.
infamous.
What's that?
Or infamous.
Depending on what side of the fence you're on. To us, I guess they're infamous, and to people that get off, they're famous.
Yeah.
But we're going to do some different stuff, and And we really appreciate John's support, and I'm sure you're going to see more of him as we move on with this. But as always, communities that support law enforcement are safer places to live.
Peace.
Peace.
All right, now you